What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down how wide receivers can get faster, how you can make faster cuts, get in and out of your breaks faster, and how you can just become a better overall athlete. So I hope this video helps you guys out, but also, fellas, if you guys would like specific speed and agility drills to improve your explosiveness, your on-field speed, your running mechanics, check out that very first link in the description below where you can get access to First Down speed and agility training. We break down 50-plus speed and agility drills. We upload 10 new drills every single week, so that'll eventually turn to 100, 200 drills, and then we organize all these drills into specific categories for you guys to follow the information. So if you guys want to get faster, improve your speed, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to get you on that, fellas. Let's get back to this video. So now, first thing I want to talk about here is this is an example of a wide receiver at one of our camps in New Jersey. So this is a drill that we have put all of our wide receivers through to work on their cuts in and out of the break. We're mainly working on a 90-degree break, like an out route or maybe like a dig route where you're having to cut off of one step. So I'm going to play this full speed, and then we're going to break down where this wide receiver can improve. And then we're going to show an example of an NFL wide receiver making this same break and how he's a lot faster out of the cut because of one simple detail. So I'm going to play this full speed. So he comes off here. Now on each cut, you're probably noticing the big toe drag with the back foot, right? So from cut to cut, you see that this turf just kind of flies up in the air. And that, honestly, fellas, a lot of people are fans of the toe drag. A lot of people feel like, oh, well, the toe drag helps me with balance. I personally just don't think we need the toe drag. And that's why a lot of wide receivers are slow out of the break, because I think the toe drag comes from us reaching, right? So on this specific drill, he's cutting off of his third step. That's his first step, that's his second step, then that's his third step. But I want you to pay attention to how he strikes the ground with his foot. What part of the foot hits first? It's the heel, right? You see how it's heel toe. Now, when you strike heel toe, what does that usually happen? What usually happens with your foot? Is it inside or is it outside of your frame? It's usually outside of your frame. You see how his chest, you see how his head is here, and the foot is out in front of him. So that is not a balanced position. That's not a position where you could drive off of the cut and get you out of the break with some speed. Your foot is AKA outside of your frame. This is your body frame. This is where your foot is. It is outside of your body frame. So you don't have balance from that position, right? Like, think about it like this. Let's say you were standing in front of somebody and you had your feet crazy wide outside your shoulders, like very, very wide, and they pushed you. You'd probably fall over, right? But if you have your feet inside your shoulder frame, you have a little knee bend, you're in a powerful position, they push you, you have a little bit more give because you're balanced, right? So when you reach outside your frame, you drag the back foot for balance because you're not able to drive off of this foot. It's physically impossible to balance when your foot's outside your frame and you don't drag the foot. Yeah, the drag looks cool, I get it, but the drag is just simply from us reaching. And you see the second example. What strikes the ground first? It's the heel. Heel slaps the toes down, your chest stays behind the heels. We want to try to cut, fellas, off of the ball of my foot. Ball of the foot hits, you can get your whole foot into the ground. I don't want you to be on your tippy toes either, because that's going to cause you to fall forward. But if you take this hard step, ball of the foot, whole foot is down, you could actually push off of the middle arch of your foot, increasing your speed with the cuts. The drag will not be necessary, because again, when you guys reach outside your frame and you over exaggerate it, you see how I'm going, he's landing on the heel first, then the toe slaps down. You cannot push off of this cut. So look where his next step is. His next step is almost a negative step. It's not getting him out of the break because he's striking on the heel and the foot is too wide. Fellas, to make a faster cut, we don't want to drag. We want to strike on the ball of my foot. I want to push off the middle arch of my foot, and I want to open up my hip right now. I want to get in and out of this specific break. So I'm going to play this again, full speed one more time. And again, not to put this kid on blast, because he was actually a very, very talented receiver. It's just, this is the first day. You guys have no context on the drill that we were doing. It's partly my fault. I should have given you context. This is the first drill that we do, right? So it's like, or not the first drill we do, it's more like the second or third drill that we do, depending on what we're covering. But this is the first like single cut drill that we do, and probably his first rep. So it's like, there are bad habits, but that's what we're there for. We're there to correct these specific bad habits. So fellas, we never want to reach outside my frame because that makes the cut slow. So let's look at Antonio Brown here. Let's watch his cut at the top of the break, and I want you to see how fast he's able to get out of it. Not a single drag of that back foot. And you see how fast he's able to get in and out of this cut. So watch when he cuts. What part of the foot strikes first? Ball of the foot. Is his whole foot down? Absolutely. But the first part that strikes is the ball of the foot. That is why he's not reaching, and that's why he's able to do what? Next step is already out of the break, he's already opening up his hips. He's already stepping onto this like post route or this skinny post route that he is running because he's actually able to push out of it. He's not dragging. His foot's not outside of his frame. He is cutting. You see how he's cutting inside of his frame. Here's his frame, and then the foot is inside of his frame. He's not leaning back. His chest isn't up in the air. That's why he's able to get speed out of the break. You guys have to think about the foot strike, fellas. I know it's something weird to think about, too. Like, I know a lot of you probably just think, well, I'm just going to go run and cut. I'm not going to worry about it. Guys, the foot strike is everything. Because if you strike on your heel, you physically can't be inside your frame. If you strike on the ball of the foot, you physically can't be outside of your frame. You just have to go ball of the foot first. Almost think of it like you're trying to go toe, then heel, rather than heel, then toe, reach, over-exaggerate, and drag those feet. So let's play this again full speed one more time. So, fellas, if you guys want faster cuts, let's focus on being on the ball of my foot. And that goes for any cut where you got to single cut it. You got to freaking drop your hips into a comeback, into a curl. That's where we want to try to strike the ground. Okay? So now, next example here. We're going to be talking about a release where you have to close space with the DB and how you could close space with him faster by using something called a punch step. So this DB right here he's outside leverage. This wide receiver is going to be running a dig route. I'm not too really worried about the dig itself, the route itself, because it gets a little bit tricky here, like creative, I guess you could say. I'm more so worried about what we should be doing off the line of scrimmage. So anytime that we come up to the line of scrimmage and we see a DB who is off, maybe like 2 to 3 yards away from us, what do we have to do with that distance between the two of us? We have to close the distance. We have to try to step onto his toes. We got to try to threaten him, but we got to close the gap. So when I do that, especially if I have a route like a dig or maybe an out route, maybe a quick post, I got to do it quickly. I can't waste a whole bunch of time off the line because that's the DB's goal in the first place in press, get hands, disrupt timing. So if I take too long, I'm doing his job for him. So this punch step with the back foot is a great way to create some explosion off the line. So let's watch what this wide receiver does. So he punches with the back foot to explode him into the release and to help him gain some ground so he could attack the DB. He could close the space because now what ends up happening is he attacks the DB. And normally when we have outside leverage, our goal is to attack him, to widen him so we could take the inside release. But we attack him here and he sits to the inside, so this receiver ends up taking the outside release. But he attacks him fast, and you can't do that without closing the space. You can't get a read on the DB without bringing that line of scrimmage to him and closing the distance. So watch what he does with this back foot here. So you see that little punch step? That's what starts the release. Now, that punch step is not a false step. There are going to be a lot of receiver coaches who are old school that if you try to do this, they're going to say that it's a false step. This is a part of the release. You are punching with the back foot. You're not stepping overly wide. You're just shooting it into the grass as fast as you can. And it is very, very similar to that last drill that we showed, that last cut that we showed. When you strike on the ground, what do you want to do when you strike the ground? You want to be on the ball of the foot and you want to push. So you are punching and you are pushing off of that foot to springboard you into this release, close the space, but more importantly, to close the space fast. So that punch step is a great way how you guys can get a faster release. That punch can build into any release where you attack the DB and have to close space with him. It's like, let's say, for example, this DB was lined up inside shade and our right foot was up, our left foot was back. You would punch with the left foot, push off the left foot, and close the space to the DB inside now to attack him and take the outside release. So this punch step is a great way to increase your speed off the ball and get a faster press release. That's a great job by this wide receiver showcasing that exact movement. So now, next thing I want to talk about here that's going to help you with speed off the ball is something called a kick step. Now, I know a few of you probably saw this coming, but a kick step is something that you guys can use to just pretty much generate momentum and explosion off the line. So a kick step is one of those heavily hated on moves by a lot of the old heads, a lot of the older school receiver coaches who think that this kick step is a false step. I'm going to tell you this right now. It is a false step if you have a DB who's off in zone. If you are using this as a part of the release, it is not a false step. You watch any NFL wide receiver against press, they do a version of this. Some people exaggerate it more than others. I personally don't like an over-exaggeration of the kick step. I think it wastes time, but they do it at one way or another to create energy off the ball. You got to understand when you're going up against a talented DB who's fast, who's quick, who's disciplined, and that's every NFL DB, probably every Division I college DB at a certain point. I'm not saying they're all equal. I'm not saying there aren't some DBs who are more disciplined than others, but they're all pretty disciplined. And if we want to beat those guys, you got to have some kind of speed off the ball. We cannot come off of my stance flat-footed and try to make a move. I've seen it too many times, fellas, watching one-on-ones, watching receivers in games. When you come off flat-footed without any speed, dude, that DB ain't going to bite on anything. You need some urgency. okay? So watch what he does here with his back foot. You see how he takes this little kick behind? That's just essentially a way to load up for the release and to explode. It creates energy. It's like taking like that same punch step, right? But instead, he kicks behind his back foot. So he hits that right foot, he shoots it into the grass. He kicks behind. He steps behind the foot that is up to load up his hips, and that puts you into explosive position to where you could throw your hips, step outside the DB's frame, and actually sell your release. So let's play this full speed one more time. This is a great example here from this wide receiver using the kick step. Guys, the kick step should be so fast that a coach who's watching it should not be able to see it. It needs to be the quickest step that you take because that is what creates the most energy off the ball. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like to improve your speed and want 50 plus drills with 10 new drills uploaded every single week for your speed, your agility, your balance, all broken down into playlists for you guys to watch, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to get you on that, fellas. I'll see you guys next time.